Welcome to another episode of Invigorate Your Business with George Stroumboulis. On today's episode, I sit down with Anthony Orisses, an entrepreneur from Queens, New York, who started RareCut, which is the world's first ever pocket square to have patented technology. He even got the attention from Shark Tank's DAYMOND and is absolutely killing it with a trajectory just growing and growing. So enjoy this episode starting now. My name is George Stroumboulis, and I'm extremely passionate about traveling the world, meeting new people, and learning about new businesses. Join me as I sit down with other entrepreneurs to learn about their journeys. This episode of Invigorate Your Business starts now. Well, so we're going to jump into this.
Yeah, let's do it.
Very excited to have you. You're visiting from the East Coast.
Yes.
Queens, New York.
Queens, New York.
Right? We have Anthony in-house. He is entrepreneur to the core, right? You don't get more entrepreneur than you. Sales expert, just all around crushing it on all levels. Personal development, we'll get into a lot of that stuff as well, on what you're doing and the courses you're taking and all this stuff. But you started something and didn't just start it. Like we're talking, you got a patent around a special product, and we're going to jump into that. But you are the creator, founder, president of RareCut, which is
all the hats.
All the hats, right? Right. Production, manufacturing,
yes. Everything.
RareCut, which is a pocket square company, and it's patent, not pending. It's patented technology.
Patent no longer pending.
Patent,
love that.
That's a great one. We've got to coin that term.
Actually, Tony gave me that caveat too.
Tony
so thank you, Tony.
Okay,
Yep.
Shout out to him. So it's exciting. Let's talk about that because I'm wearing a sport coat just for you today.
Appreciate that.
Even though I love wearing sport coats. So let's talk about this, and then you're going to show us this one right here.
Yes,
and
100%.
Let's dive into that. Like, tell us about your company.
Yo, first and foremost, thank you for dressing up. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And thanks for having me here, man. It's a trip to be here on the West Coast, get to meet you, and having known you just from Instagram, us seeing each other immediately, it was just like old friends. So,
totally.
Off the bat, love that. And again, it's an honor to be here. Thank you. So my company, RareCut, we launched, that's my pandemic baby over here. So I launched in the middle of pandemic, September 2020.
Jeez.
And I came up with the concept, sometime prior, worked with certain engineers. And for those not familiar, our flagship product is the pocket square. It has memory metal inside. So no matter how you fold it, it stays up. And that's also our tongue-in-cheek tagline, it stays up. So we like to have fun with our marketing. But yeah, it came from an idea, and then I was originally going to launch in March 2020.
Oh, wow. Okay. The start of everything. Yeah.
The start of everything.
2 confirmed cases of COVID in the city.
Yeah.
In March. I remember I was there and
yes.
they're like, oh my God.
And I was like, this seems like a really inappropriate time to launch a fashion accessory startup.
Yep.
So, I was ready to roll. And I postponed it 6 months. We did a Kickstarter, 30-day campaign, did 50K plus in sales in 30 days.
Wow.
I was like, I think we're onto something here.
Yes.
I think we're onto something. And, got a lot of love and support, a lot of, when you have a company, when you get user generated content, when other people are posting your stuff constantly, it makes you feel good.
Absolutely.
I was getting a lot of that. And
around what? Just people showing it off, or what were they messaging?
People taking videos of themselves wearing it, like this is awesome. I love this product. I love this company. I mean, just talk about like validation right there. There's nothing better. So yeah, that's how we started, right? We started on Kickstarter, and then slowly but surely we know what direction we want to go. It's our flagship product for sure. But we also want to be more than just that. We do want to be an apparel company. So we've also done other things as well, pocket squares and t-shirts for different causes. Amazing. So
a couple things before we dive into the structure of the business and all that, right? Your background, your sales DNA, right? Like your sales, medical devices. Like talk to me about just your background pre-RareCut.
100%. So yeah, I always knew I loved sales. That was always a thing of mine. When I was a little kid in 5th grade, you remember the movie Clueless?
Of course.
Yes. My friend's mom was making these fuzzy pens that had the feathers at the end.
Okay.
And she goes to my buddy, she's like, you should sell these at school. He's like, no way. And she's like, Anthony, how about you do it? She goes, they're $3. And for everyone you sell, you get $1. I'm like, oh yeah, sign me up. I do baseball cards. I do all that stuff. I tell, I'm all ears.
Right.
So I ended up, going to school, a small St. Nicholas, which is not a large population of students at a private Greek school.
In Queens, New York.
In Queens, yeah.
Okay.
And long story short, about, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks later, I sold over 500 pens. And I was in class and I heard, Anthony Orisses, please come down to the principal's office. And everyone goes, ooh, see my principal there? And she's sitting there like this. And I see one of the fuzzy pens on the desk. And she goes to me, Anthony, this is a school. This is not a business. Which, as you get older, a school is a business.
It's 100%, yes.
But I didn't think of that at the time in 5th grade. And she goes, this has to stop because ever since you did this, everyone's coming into school trying to sell things. This is not a flea market. We can't do this. This has to stop. I'm like, all right.
How amazing is that?
Yeah. And then as I left, she said something very cool. She goes, but by the way, she goes, everyone in school has one of these. You should be very proud of yourself. And she goes, I'm going to hold on to this one.
That's amazing.
I just thought it was really cool. So I always knew I liked sales from a really young age. Dad's in real estate, all that.
What was your, just even on that, like what was your pitch to students then when you're a young kid?
Oh, I cut deals. I said, if you buy, I think it was, 1 for 3, 2 for 5. And I asked my friend's mom, can I do that? She's like, do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah. So everyone bought 2.
So you were destined like to be in sales and just do that.
Yeah, I love it. And I never really look at it as sales. I just look at it as fun. It's a challenge. And, you're offering something cool that they don't have. I don't even really use the word sales a lot, even though all things are sales. It does have like a bit of a negative connotation to it in a lot of people's eyes.
It does.
But like if you look at yourself as a salesperson, like there's a certain feeling there. But when you're looking at yourself as like, okay, I have a solution to a problem or I have something new that you probably want and I'm the guy that can give it to you, then that changes the whole, I think, mentality around sales, so to speak.
It does have a stigma to it.
It does.
Right? Like the minute I know this is a sales agent, okay, how much money are they trying to take out of my pocket? Right? You put up this defense.
Yes, totally.
Right? Versus here's the solution and everything. Yes. So you get into that, your professional career now. Like
professional career? Yes.
Where did you start there? What did you do?
So my uncle in Greece has his own medical device distributorship. And I knew since a young age, I'm like, this is a really cool job. Like, this is awesome. He'd take me with him to his office, to the field. And I just felt like, and we went to like a couple of dinners with doctors. And I'm like 12 at this point. But it's different there. So I just heard them kind of talking about life for 90% of the conversations, and that little 10% was business, right? And somewhere in the middle of conversation, and they went back into just kind of hanging. And I'm like, oh, I love that. Yeah. It wasn't what I expected it to be. And that just left an impression on me. And I knew I wanted to do that since I was a little kid. And, I've been selling medical devices for quite some time. I've gotten, some rookies of the year, president's clubs. I've accumulated the accolades along the way. But the reason being is people ask like, what's your trick? Like, can I do a field ride with you? I go, what you're just going to get from me is just like, I just believe in what I'm saying and I love it. So what you're going to get is somebody that really loves the product more than anything. I don't necessarily have a like, hey, use this line or use this overcoming objection talk track. That's not how I roll. It's just when I'm into something, you know it. And that goes across the board. Yeah.
And you can't teach likability.
Correct.
Like you got out of the car today coming up to the office and it's like just fucking energy, right? Like it's just, you can't teach that energy. You can teach certain tricks on when to shut up in sales and when not to over. But like that whole likability, and then going back, you're 12 years old and your uncle. So was this in Greece you were following him or here? Yeah. So to see how they interact, and it's just all about life. And then in the end, it's like, okay, Spiro, are we going to do this type of thing?
Yes.
It's a big deal.
It is.
Like it's no different. Nobody wants to be sold to.
Nobody.
Right? It's like, what solution can you provide? And then the same way I find nobody also doesn't want that fake 90% of talk about life. So how are your kids, Bob? You're like, you don't give a shit. Yeah. Like it's a fine line that you got to cross right?
And you know when somebody's, and you feel it, right? Like people are like, oh, dogs can sense energy. So can we,
Absolutely.
And you know when somebody's being authentic and they're just asking this question to get to the next question that they really want to ask. Yep. You know what I mean? But when somebody actually cares, and that's another thing about small talk that I heard that I really appreciate. It's not small talk if you care, right? So if you actually give a shit about somebody's life and who they are and you care about their kids, actually care, it's really not small talk. You're getting to know them. And then in turn, they'll be like, oh, that's so real and genuine. They actually want to get to know about me outside of this business deal.
That's true. Yeah. And sometimes small talk's not bad versus no talk, right? Like if you're just interacting with the barista who's giving you the coffee and like, hey, how are you? How's your day? Maybe you don't really care, but at least you're showing for that few seconds. So, okay, fast forward now, you're crushing it in that space, right? Medical devices, not an easy industry in itself, right? Very competitive, especially in this country. Successful there. You get to the point now, you're in your 30s and you have this eureka moment of pocket squares. So for people listening around the world, pocket squares, we're talking about, so who's not watching this on YouTube, it's the fancy cloth that goes in your jacket, right?
As evidence right here.
Amazing. Yes. And we'll get into the different styles. Like that's such a cool one that you have on. And people will be like, well, what? It's $1 billion industry, right? Like it's an industry in itself. So just talk to me, even before you started this Kickstarter, which I want to hear about, how did you even go about the market? Like, is there potential? What are the numbers?
Right.
How did you start looking at that?
So I think what I just noticed was more, instead of like saying, hey, this was heavy research based, this was more an observation. I'd go to weddings or christenings, and Greeks typically at a function will dress to the nines, right? And what I was seeing was more and more, or I should say less and less people were wearing ties and going more open collar. Yeah. So just something I kind of noticed, and I know that most of my adult male friends have no clue how to tie a tie. And they'd ask me, like, can you help me? Sure. And then it came to the point where, we'd be groomsmen's at weddings, and, no guy knew how to fold a pocket square. And I was just like, why is this a piece of cloth? Like, why is this so difficult to fold? And we have 12 relatively smart guys here, and not one of them can figure this out. Like, and that just kind of stuck with me. Right. Then the story that really changed everything was at a medical device, essentially a gala. My manager was getting presented Manager of the Year, and we're very tight. He's like an older brother to me. And he goes to me, Anthony, I'm about to get this award. Like, how do I look? I'm like, I got some like shit in your hair. Your tie's a little crooked. And I go, you wearing a pocket square? And he's like, yeah. And he pulls it up. And he's like, my wife bought this for me just for today. It's $100 pocket square, which at the time I didn't know that existed.
Right.
I had no idea. So he's like, can you fix this? He hands it to me. I kind of just morphed it into something and I gave it back to him.
Origami style, just like a little.
Pretty much, yeah. And he takes it back and he gives his speech, nails it. And then the next day they broadcast all the pictures and videos from the night before. And that $100 pocket square fell and it was nowhere to be seen.
Jeez.
And I go to him, dude, if you have $100 pocket square, it's essentially worthless.
Yeah.
I go, if that can't be seen, it's worthless.
What's the point?
So he's like, dude, I'm done with them. I'm not wearing them anymore. I don't know why. That comment just was like planted in my brain. And I happened to be home back in Astoria, Queens, watching Shark Tank. And I was just like, when's my big idea going to come? Straight up, I was just like, when am I going to, I watch all these inspiring people. Like, when's going to be the time where I come up with an idea? I'm creative. Like, what the hell? When's going to be my time? And I started thinking about the work trip I was just on days prior. And that conversation that was in my mind, I was like, oh shit, that doesn't exist. So I looked online, didn't exist. I called the patent attorney, who's still my attorney today. She's like, ooh, that doesn't exist. And actually, that's a really good idea. You might want to run with it. And that's all the ammo I needed to take off and run with it.
So you already did a quick filter on, hey, let me talk to the pros. This doesn't exist. Quick search. And then it was like, that was your moment.
Yeah.
And then I bet you that $100 comment, like if you said, oh, my $10 pocket square, maybe it wasn't as appealing to look at that industry, right? But it's a lot. Yeah. And for me, my default is, which by the way, I would love if we can, like some of my jackets have them built in.
Yeah.
Right. But when I see that, I'm like, it just looks sharp, right? When you're not wearing a tie. So you get this idea, then where do you go from there to Kickstarter, and why Kickstarter?
Kickstarter, because especially at the time, I think it was more like prevalent then as opposed to now, but I wanted to do kind of like a softer launch and give myself a little bit of a buffer in between launching Kickstarter and then my website, which I got to tell you, it's like launching 2 websites at the same exact time. I don't necessarily know if Kickstarter is for everyone, and it's certainly not for every business, but for mine to test out like the market and the need, it worked out really well for me. And I love it. But, you know, what did I do before Kickstarter? I worked with 3 different engineers to find the memory metal in the center.
Yep.
I worked with a fabric engineer, a textile engineer that I didn't even know existed either. And we're in the garment district in New York City going through all these fabrics. And she's like, how does this feel? How does that feel? I had no idea at the time. I'm like, oh, pretty good. You know, like everything seemed fine to me. And it took a lot of time actually. And I learned a whole lot about fabrics, metals, meshes, adhesives, all these things. I went from knowing really nothing in the fashion space, and I mean next to nothing, about like, hey, maybe these 2 colors don't match. Okay, maybe I knew some basic stuff.
Sure.
But I was not like, I never thought ever I'd find myself in the fashion space ever.
And people don't know this. Like, you're lucky that you're at the footstep of the garment district in New York, which is what, in the 20s, I think?
30s, yeah.
30s, okay.
Yeah.
Like the mecca there, like so many brands are still producing here. It's not just outsourced overseas. So you had access to that to go and learn and right. That's kind of a big deal.
Super convenient. Yeah. So yeah, all these things to say, like, you know, you never know where you're going to get pulled in life. Like, especially like when you come across a good idea, it might not be in your industry or something you even thought you know, had an interest in, so to speak, or any knowledge about, but when you get the call, right, and there's something that's pulling you, c'est travail, and it's saying, hey, like, pursue this, you listen to that voice. Because there's been times in my life where I come up with a good idea, and then the next day I'm just like, I'm not going to pursue that.
Not passionate, but it
seemed like a good idea yesterday, but now it's today and I'm over it.
Yeah. Where do you pull motivation from outside of you? Like, what else is influencing you? Because there's more, we had this conversation before, there's more downs and ups in startups and entrepreneurship. Like, it's set up to just constantly kick your ass and see how you get up and what you change from that ass kicking. Not every day, like every hour, things change. It's so fluid. So where do you get that motivation? My business, just side note, I have a 50-50 business partner that we go to war together every day. So when I'm down, hopefully he brings me up, and vice versa. And there's someone, or we're both down together and then we come up. You're at the peak of your own mountain by yourself. You have family, you have friends, you have a good network. But like, you know, from 2016 to now, where do you find that constant motivation or remotivation?
Yeah. Great question. A few things. So you mentioned you have a partner. Nothing prepares you for entrepreneurship like actual entrepreneurship, like actually doing it. And I've watched all the Shark Tanks, I've listened to all the podcasts, I've read all the books, but you have to get your hands dirty.
Yes.
One thing I don't know, and I have no regrets about it because I learned so much, but I think, you know, going into anything with the right partner can really help. Now, the wrong partner can ruin everything, but I really think going into business with the right partner can be such a game changer, because you have somebody else to lean on. And so long as they're, you know, motivated and they're in it for the right reasons, then you can really grow something, almost go on the fast track to growing something. That's one of the things that can be a little bit difficult, being a solopreneur.
Yeah, absolutely.
Entrepreneurship is tough. Solopreneurship is even tougher, in my personal opinion.
100%.
Right? So there's that. So that's just kind of one of the things I picked up for any future endeavors I go into. I'd probably go with like a good strategic partner. But what keeps me motivated is that I've barely skimmed the surface of what this could potentially be. There's no company synonymous with pocket squares. There's none. There's companies that have pocket squares.
That's true.
But there's not one that's synonymous yet. So that is my motivation to be the company, to be, when you think of a pocket square or a handkerchief, as some people call them, you think of Rare Cut.
Yep.
So that, because I'm not there yet, that really keeps me motivated. I want to be the guy that makes that happen. And I want to make Rare Cut that company that is, goes really hand in hand when you're thinking about like, okay, sports jacket, suit, whatever the case may be, missing a pocket square, got to reach for a Rare Cut.
Yep. That's great. So it's synonymous. That's your motivation to become that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's incredible. We could go a lot of different ways from here, talking about partnerships, right?
Yes.
And just planning. So now this is being filmed in 2024, 2016. COVID's the obvious answer, but where you want to be today, do you think you would have been there sooner? Like when you were planning this out, where were you going to be and at what point? From success, from how much volume? Like, are you there yet?
No. So I remember my attorney, when I first came up with the idea, she goes, when do you think your company will be up and running? And I go, 1 year from now. Now, I didn't even have a product yet, but I think it's okay to have that. I think it's okay to have aggressive goals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's necessary because it keeps you moving. And there's so many unforeseen challenges that will happen that you did not see coming, obviously, because you've never been in this space before. Where do I think, would I think I'd be here? Or where did I think I'd be in 2016? Honestly, probably further along. And I don't have any regrets about anything I've done because this is the process. This is the process. This is just unique to my life and how things are going. I didn't see all the unforeseen, like there's all these unforeseen challenges I could not have expected that keep arising. You know, you almost think, business is challenging, but you don't realize how challenging it is until you're in it. But because of that, I'm a way better entrepreneur in general because of this. Because of that, absolutely. Yeah, because of everything that I've experienced, the ups and the tons of downs. That's the reality. That's show business. That's behind the curtain, so to speak. Like that's what you don't see. That's what's happening. And people just see like a social media post, or they will see me, chatting with you here on this podcast, which is awesome. And this is part of the perks of the job, right? But they don't see me in my garage in Astoria, when it's freezing outside, 20 something degrees. I don't have heat in there, right? But I'm still printing things out. I have a jacket on. I got my beanies on. I have double socks on. No one sees that. And I don't mind that because I love that. Absolutely. But that's the stuff people don't see. It's less sexy than people think because they see things like this and like, oh, I want to do that too. But there's a lot of work behind it. There's a lot of work to that. And then the other side of it is, and I ask this because even with us, how much does just finances come into play where if you had unlimited finances to do, how much further along would you be towards whatever your end goal is? Oh, yeah. So so that's one thing I'm really in 2024 being more conscious of is outsourcing certain things. You should not do everything yourself. No. And I've tried it and I'm learning. I learned the hard way, right? Yep. I tried to do everything. I'm like, a little cost savings here, but like really to grow exponentially, you need to outsource, you need to hire. And I'm at that point. Good for you to even get to that point. That's a big deal. Yeah. I really tried doing everything. Yeah. And, you could say it was a character building, almost workshop. Yep. I'll put it that way. Yeah. But it's not the most efficient way to actually grow a business. So that's a good point. Are you in your plans for the future with Rare Cut and where you're going, right? Is the plan to this transition become a full-time venture? This is your full-time. I'd love to have this for life, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people say like, I think it's a fair question. When you start a business, people often ask like, what's your exit plan? Have I written one down? Cause I was in a workshop where it required me to write one down. Yeah. But I'd love to have this for life. Like I am this company is me. Like Rare Cut is me. It's you know? So like to part with that, like, let's just say you sell it and make a ton of money. What are you going to do? Try to start another company and hope it's a replica of what you just started. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't potentially have, partners and sell shares. Like, who knows? But I love doing this. I have so much fun with this brand. And isn't that what it's all about? Like having fun with a brand and being successful, impacting the lives, being a movement. Yes. Right? Absolutely. And going back to the partnerships just on that. Well, here's the thing. Say you have an exit plan, you sell it. Well, guess what? You're a very busy guy, hustling, successful, doing it.
you're going to have to replace that with another new passion.
Correct.
Right? Like
Yes.
that's daunting. Just knowing you have this passion. Why already think about exiting this? Build it, do whatever. The partnership side of it, it's interesting. So there's a saying, when man plans, God laughs, right? Like plans are plans. When we launched our company, our plan was 6 months savings, right? And then after 6 months from year one, we would start drawing a salary and whatever. That was the plan. On paper, the minute we launched, had my first baby, right? New mortgage, okay? Fine, stresses, we kind of planned it out. What I didn't plan was, at the time, my credit file was stolen in the black market, right? Sold to the black market, and I just got rocked. When I tell you hundreds of thousands of dollars in my name, cars stolen in 5 different counties here in California, IDs, green card ripped off, like just destroyed. Every day I would go to the mailbox and it was like $18,000 surgery in Wyoming and $20,000, just rocked. Like they destroyed me. So that 6-month plan that me and my partner had, pushed it out over a year because I was so consumed in this. And it was like on top of a new baby and all this. So it's funny, but you could have just folded and say, you know what, this isn't for me. Let me go back. Let me get a job. Let me just not.
Right.
But you double down and you figure it out.
Yes.
Or you don't. Right? Like it's just.
What's the alternative?
What's the alternative? Like, go get a job, go figure it. Like, so it was just a lesson and trying to keep composure, because now you got to be a rock for your spouse and your baby that doesn't know what's going on, and your partner and but I wouldn't change a thing. You know, even looking back a decade later, it's like, I wouldn't change a thing. And there's always headaches every day. And this is it. And then just having the right partner, my advice in general to anyone listening is like, don't go in partnership with your best friend or your friend. Don't. Like, your friends for a reason, keep it that way. Try to go outwards and make sure that person you're partnering up with has a different skill set than you.
100%.
Right? And then the other just aspect of that is also make sure they're in the same boat financially, similar boat. Because if you're bringing someone on just because of the money, then they're going to be dictating everything. Just from my experience, right?
Yep.
But if we're chasing the same goals, same whatever, it just makes it that much more cohesive, and then you move in the right direction. Like that's why my partnership has been successful so far. Touch wood. Don't want to jinx it. But the partnerships, I've seen more partnerships fail because of, he was my cubaro or my best friend and this, and you're like, no.
I said this to someone the other day. It's just like, if you're going to go for it all, like it could end up, it's almost like somebody like your best friend dating your sister. It's going to go one of two ways. It's either you'll have a beautiful, like, cohesive unit, things will get even better, or the complete opposite, and you'll lose a friend.
Yes.
It goes one of the two ways.
Absolutely. And that's a great way of putting it. So you launched the company. Talk to me about Pocket Squares, like the economics of it. So how did you get the patent on this?
So
I'm going to open this up while we're here.
It took, how did I get a patent? It took quite a while, and it also was pushed back because of COVID. So all the courts were closed.
That's so awesome.
And it took many, many years to finally get it. And one thing that I did was I was with my attorney and we were talking to the examiners, and they did a Zoom, and I said to her, you know, they keep rejecting it. Why? And there's all these little tiny reasons as to why. And I said, I go, okay. And I was in Long Island at the time. I'm like, the call's tomorrow. I'm going to drive to Astoria, and I'm going to take the Zoom call from HQ, which is my garage in Astoria, because let them see, like, the person, like, let them humanize the experience of, like, who's the entrepreneur behind this idea. So I set up shop and I go, hey guys, like, I just want to give you a little insight. Like, this is my space I work in. You know, it's a pretty small garage here. This is how I print. This is how I do this. This is how I package, you know, and this is really important to me. And if this makes sense, obviously you guys have a job to do, and I understand. But I just want to, like, let you get an inside look into the entrepreneur behind the idea.
Good for you.
And yeah, man. And after that, my attorney spoke for most of the time. And then they said to me, like, Anthony, it was really a pleasure getting to know you and speak to you. And don't forget, countless companies that are very successful all started out in garages. And we think you're going to be very successful.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we'll be in touch. So, and then after that, you know, we got the patent, but I felt like that was, you know that the expression facts tell, stories sell.
Yeah.
And like, when people actually get to see, like, a human being, and that's why we watch Shark Tank. You see a product and you're like, oh, I never thought I needed this before. But you know what? That couple that's selling it, they're a great couple and they're good people. And I love their story, and you buy into people behind it too.
Absolutely. Well, and you're the face of the brand, right?
Yeah,
like you're out there,
yes.
you're rocking it, and people want to support someone who's doing good. And then the charitable side of it as well, which is a great marketing play, but you also do want to do change with like Cancer Awareness Month. And talk to us a bit about that, like what you stand for with.
For sure. Like I did not go into this to start a company with a product. I went into this to start a brand with a purpose. And one of my favorite things is making anything into a hybrid, because you can, right? You might say, what is, pocket squares and a public school in Harlem, what does one have to do with the other? Well, we were able to by launching a specific campaign that had pocket squares and t-shirts showcasing the kids. And if you're creative enough, you can combine anything.
So talk to us about that specifically. What did you do there? That's pretty.
Oh yeah. So I came up with this shirt that we have, the Dare shirt. So it's like, Dare, but rare, and just a little play on a little pun there.
Amazing fabric too.
Yeah, thanks, man. So we did that,
awesome.
and we worked with a public school, A. Philip Randolph High School in Harlem. And we got to know these kids that are volunteer their time after school to be in this mentorship group. And we're talking young kids that, instead of like going home and playing video games or just like watching TV, they go volunteer their time to learn from one another, to talk about their goals, to talk about their futures, to talk about how they could be like better individuals. I was just like, this is so awesome. And I had made this shirt and I wanted to pair it with the right program, and I didn't find it.
Yeah.
And through my Greek networking, actually, this one lady, she's like, hey, there's someone I really want you to speak with. And he happened to be doing this. And I'm like, dude, I'm so inspired by your story and like the kids, like, can I meet you? I think we can collaborate. So he's like, yeah, come to the school. And I go in for the first time thinking I was going to meet him, but I actually was not only meeting him, I was meeting all the kids in the school. So I sat right in the front unexpectedly, like, oh, I didn't expect this. And I sat down, and at first, understandably, you're a kid in high school, like they're kind of skeptical, like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
By the end, I got a standing ovation. I got hugs. I got dapped. I was like, yeah.
But that's not easy for you to walk. It's not like second grade.
No.
Right? Like you're walking into high school. It's a different.
God bless teachers.
Are you kidding me? In Harlem, you're doing that?
Different, man. Yeah, I never experienced anything like that. And then like the reception I got at the end too, and people were like, hey, I have a business idea. Can I pitch it to you? I'm like, yeah, for sure.
So wait, what do you do? You're put on the spot. You get up there. Like, what do you actually do at that time?
Yeah, I went there and it ended up being cool because like life's all about adapting anyways, right? So you go in there, you're like, oh, I didn't expect this. And you switch on because you have to, right?
Yes.
And I go, okay, let's do this. So I go up there, and there was a laptop that had my rarecut.com. They were going through it, and they just asked me a bunch of questions about like, if you have a business idea, like what do you do? How do you start? Like normal questions that anyone that wants to start a business would like to ask. And it was a great conversation. And since then, we featured these young men in our campaign. My buddy who runs a suit company, he's a tailor. I brought him in for a talk, and at the end of it, he took all their measurements, and we're going to the school next month, and we're giving them all custom suits with pocket squares.
Get out of here.
Yeah, man. So it's like, that's the stuff that like moves me. And like you put that into your brand, like your own personal brand should be like put into the brand of whatever it is that you have out there. And man, I think stuff like that is so cool. So I was just like, when we talked about combining things, like if that's something that moves me, I'm just like, you're not doing it really you're not doing it for everyone else. Even though other people might be like, oh, that's really cool. And I think it is, but you're doing it for like that group right there that you just changed their lives by 100%. Seeing these people come in. And someone's going to get something from that. Someone's going to pay it forward, So like stuff like that just gets me juiced.
Oh yeah. And dude, I see it. Like I actually got chills staring, like these kids are going to get, right? They're raised wherever they're raised. They're getting suits. They're getting access to that. Like that's got to make you feel good.
Oh, it's awesome.
Doing that.
It's the best.
It's the best.
Yeah.
So what is some advice? So I know these are kids in high school.
Yes.
But even if a buddy of yours or a friend or a sister or whoever wanted to start a business, doesn't matter what industry, like what are some high level stuff that you would kind of guide them toward, kind of like what I was saying about partnerships, a couple things, starting a new business, what advice would you give to someone?
So starting a business is very expensive, and there's going to be a lot of unforeseen costs that will pop up. My thing is, and I'm still doing it, is I tell people, if you're going to start your own business or startup, you should also have a job as well. Hustle. Yeah. Make both work for as long as you can. And then when you make that switch and do your side hustle full time, and you can comfortably make that switch, you're good. But in the meantime, you're going to have to really bust your ass. You might not get the amount of sleep that you want to get. But you know, you want to be able, a lot of people quit because of finances, you know, and they'll be like, I had this idea, but it just wasn't paying the bills. But you know, maybe you were a year away, maybe you were 3 years away, who knows? But you stopped prematurely because you ran out of funds, and you're just like, I can't afford to live in New York City in this type of lifestyle, or LA, which you are right here. It's expensive here. And you got to have some sort of income coming in as well. So I really do think it's important to do both. Now, I'll hear a lot of entrepreneurs will be like, you know, like Cortez, burn the ships if you want to take the island. And yeah, but you have to get on a ship first that can get you to where you have to get. And then at a certain point where it makes sense, you strategically do that.
Absolutely.
But I think it's very bad advice listen, the crowd loves hearing it. If you don't like what you're doing, quit your job today. Yeah, you're going to rile the people up. People like hearing that, man. But it's not good advice.
No.
I don't think it's the
worst advice. Yeah. And to your point, work a couple jobs. If it doesn't work, and most ideas are going to fail. And actually, it's great even talking to people that had failed ideas just to know, why did it fail? Because that's the norm.
Yes.
Right? The ones that are succeeding or on track to succeed, that's not the norm.
No, it's not.
It's a smaller percentage. But the one thing is, if you're not willing to make sacrifices financially, right? Even with relationships and everything to make something work, entrepreneurship is not for you.
Facts.
It's all sacrifice.
Facts.
You think I like being away from my kids to go sit there? Like, it's all sacrifice. And entrepreneurs are not better than people who aren't entrepreneurs. Most of us are just programmed to work for someone else and not have those stress. It's a lot of fucking stress, man.
Yes, man. Yes, right? It is. Oh, yes, it is.
Is it worth it? Yeah, there's days where it's worth it, and there's other days where you think it's not, and you got to gauge it yourself. There's no, I hear a lot with like younger kids that are my nephew's age, teenagers. What do you want to do when you get older? I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be my own boss.
Yeah.
Okay, but what does that mean? Like, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to make the world's best pocket squares? Do you want to make, like, what do you, like, being your own boss is a byproduct. That's not, correct. That could be an end goal. Like, I want to be my own boss. I just want to travel and do this. And, you know, Gary Vee said, fuck this and go all in. And it's like, whoa, I feel, and education is not right.
Yeah.
The latest thing is like, I don't need university.
Yeah.
Whether you believe that or not, I'm not going to add, while you're still developing that, especially as a male, go to school. You're going to learn people. You're going to do stuff. Do your side hustle while you're there. But this whole go all in and figure it out, I think that's poor advice.
I agree.
For the majority of the people. I agree. You will fail. And most people won't recover from that. So it's like, how do you do it in a safe zone?
Dude, I'm with you on that. And I actually confronted somebody one time. This was at a hub spot I believe it was NYU. And that entrepreneur said that exact advice. And he's like, guys, if you don't like what you're doing, quit your job tomorrow, this and that. And again, it got a good response from the crowd because it's just like fun. It's just like almost like a coach going in there and riling up the team. And I saw him outside on my way out, and he was smoking a cigarette. And I went up to him. I'm like, hey, what's up? I heard you inside earlier. And I'm like, you said some things that really made sense. But the one thing that I'm not quite sure I'm in agreement with is, you told everyone, if you don't like what you do, quit your job. Wouldn't you agree, starting a business is extremely expensive and this and that, and there's a lot of uncertainty. And to kind of have that certainty by having a job can really like alleviate a lot of stress and help the entrepreneur to keep going. He's like, oh yeah, totally. And he's like, what do you do? And I'm like, I sell medical devices. And he's like, yeah, don't quit your job. And I'm just like, whoa. Bro, honestly, that conversation, and I've referenced it before, really upset me because I almost feel like you're out there like almost like a politician campaigning, telling everyone you should do this, and then you don't back up your word. Yep. That talk track is dangerous.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And he's doing it for clickbait.
Yes.
That shock value.
Correct.
But then you have a kid who's 17, like, oh, he's right. He did this.
Yes.
And I'm following this guy and he's driving a Lambo, and it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. It's going down the path versus we grew up, parents, grandparents, entrepreneurial because they had to. You're seeing it from a different, right? Like I think our DNA is you had to start your own thing because you couldn't just get a job, right? They wouldn't just hire you, right? First generation or whatever. Doesn't matter Greek, doesn't matter what culture you are. You had to start your own stores, convenience stores. It's just in our DNA, right? So before you were talking about New York, and you are a passionate Greek, and we'll talk about that, but you're equally, if not more, a passionate New Yorker, which is awesome, right? Yeah, like when I talk to you or see, like it's New York is your DNA.
Yes.
And rightfully so. So I lived in New York City 15 years, and I like to think I'm a part of that, but I'm not born and bred there. Like you're born, bred. It's the best city in the world, hands down, right? Like
I agree.
Like there's other amazing cities, and we'll get into like LA bashing soon since we're here in Newport Beach. But like that city, like my biggest thing when I've been here 8 years now, moving out of the city, I feel like I just did a 180. I went from like overdrive to like just kind of cruising. Okay. And I'm not in a cruising mode. Not saying you're not motivated. It's just, it's different out here. There's very successful people. It's just New York, when you're there, the minute you hit that pavement and you're walking in the city, you're just like, fuck, you're energized and you just want to contribute and do. And it is a rat race and it can consume you. But just in general, that city, no other place in the world can replicate that energy.
No. And so you got to take a little things from both coasts, right? So to your point, so from my living room, I can see the Empire State Building, and I look out at my entire life. I'm 38. I never look at the Empire State Building and be like, I'm over it. I'm still motivated every time I step foot onto the concrete in the city. Every single time, there's something about it that it wakes you up, it jolts you, it makes you want to be better.
Yes.
It makes you want to be better. It makes you want to get a piece of like the city action. You're just like, people are out here doing it, right? Why not me?
100%.
Right? Why not me? And yes, you also like it could get a little overwhelming at times for sure, but that's where taking some lessons from our friends here on the West Coast, where you do things because I don't know why. Not that it certainly exists in New York, but it's more commonplace here. Like, do your meditations, do your visualizations, do your breathing exercises, and if you could take that and be in New York and balance the two, I think it's a recipe for being unstoppable.
Absolutely. And what I loved about New York is like going to a diner. Right? Like I love my diners. Obsessed. But what I love about the diner is you could be sitting there and there could be a homeless guy drinking a coffee in the diner. Mm-hmm. And then the CEO of CBS or the president of this or all in the same place. And it's just so accessible. Like you'll be walking down the street and again, on a square block, there's people from the richest in the world to just not in a great place. Right. And it's just this melting pot where anywhere else in the world, there's classes, like cities are divided. Right. Like this is where the rich people go. I love that everyone's just together and moving. It's just such a cool place.
I never really thought of that. Like I've seen it, but it never really crossed my mind because it's just what I see.
But you're from there. That's your DNA. You're there. But like from the outside, it was never like where I lived, you would see the, not to name drop, and I don't care about this person, but like Anderson Cooper would work across the street. Like, okay, this guy's worth X millions, whatever. Right. And like you'd see him at a diner or Jeff Goldblum. And then it's literally me who's nobody, barely paying bills as a young person working. And then this other person, and it just always blew my mind where any other city, you wouldn't be able to do that.
It's like the great equalizer.
It is. It really is. Shakes it out. And then after a while, it's like, it's such a cool city. Talking about Pocket Squares specifically.
Yes, let's talk.
Educate the audience a bit. Just, what's for a man now, right? You're going out. I'm a big I love blazers.
Yes.
T-shirt.
Same.
Kicks, go into a meeting. Like you could go from T-shirt, like whatever, throw this on. You just feel better, right? And you go. Pocket Squares. How can someone integrate this into their wardrobe? I'm holding one that is just so cool. Nice blue. It's got the Greek flag, right?
Yep.
And then on your website, rarecut.com, right? And then all the socials are at rarecut.
Yes.
across the board.
Across the board.
Yeah, which is like very hard to do.
Yeah, well, when you get a patent or you register something, if there's a dormant account with that name, they will give it to you. You have to apply for it though.
So explain. So pick a platform where you didn't have it.
Sure, all of them.
Really? So all of them would have been like some underscore.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you have a patent that says, hey, the government says I'm legit. Like I have this.
It was more the registration of the name. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And then if it's a dormant account, like one girl had Rarecut on Instagram, and she had one follower, and it was Instagram, or she was following one account, which was Instagram. And I'm like, all right, she has my name and everything.
Right.
And I tried messaging her, lowball, like, hey, here's like $50. Can we switch names? I never heard back. I'm like, she's not using this account.
Yep.
So then I just wrote into Instagram, and they granted it to me. I think it took like about a month or so.
How did you even know to write it? Like, did you read a blog on?
Yeah, I just searched online how to get an account. Can you still get an account if it's dormant? Is there any like infringement of any sort? And they said they reached out, they got no reply, and like it's yours now. And they changed hers to like Rarecut 2 or whatever.
No
the case
way.
may be. Yeah.
So that's great advice for anyone because I think the default everyone settles.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll just do rare_cut, and then on this one I
have all those too, by the way.
You do? Okay.
I have all those.
So you're the guy.
Yeah.
Dude, so that's exciting. So you get this stuff. Just talk to us pocket squares now in general. What are the most typical ways of folding them, putting them in?
So
I'm going to give you this one.
100%. So it's almost like origami, right? Like you can fold it however you want to, and there's really no wrong way to wear it so long as it's showing. Some look better than others, but there's really no wrong way to wear it.
Right.
I would say there's probably 4 popular ones that are modern. And I say modern because like, all right, you mentioned about like your getup, right? And how you're dressed. You can wear that to just about anything. You can go to a business presentation with that if you so chose. You can go to a nice dinner. You can go on a date. Like the way you're dressed is like, this is how a modern man dresses, but dresses nicely. And that never goes out of fashion. Before I even had a Rarecut fully up and running, I had some prototypes and I would walk into these networking events.
Yep.
And the number of times I walked in dressed just like this, I'd walk in and they go, hey, are you the speaker? I didn't say one word. What gave you the impression that I'm the speaker? Because I'm dressed because I put a little time and effort into dressing a certain way.
It's a compliment, right?
No, it's amazing, right? So that never goes out of fashion. I think what you're seeing is like you're seeing less guys like putting even just a little bit of effort into it, but that little bit of effort goes such a long way. Same with pocket squares. It's a little bit of effort, right? It really is. It's just a little bit of effort. It's like that. We'll give a reference because we're in LA, right? Like Kobe did the little extra, right? Like, so Kobe did the things that others wouldn't. Like, he did the little extra of like, oh, I'm going to stay and keep shooting free throws when you all leave, right? That little bit of extra went such a long way and changes everything. True. With this too, this is a talking piece. Make no mistake about it. Yeah. Like, this is a talking piece. My buddy, we went to a Greek event a couple of weeks ago, and I gave him one that had hearts on it. And I go, I guarantee you, you're gonna get several people asking you or talking about the heart pocket square. I kid you not, this is the truth. We walked in, we checked into the door, gives his name, and he's like, nice pocket square, that's really cool. And I go, that's one. Done. Yeah. That's one. Yeah. Went to the bar, had a conversation with some girl. Happened again too. I go, that's 2. I'm like, I'm not keeping track anymore.
She wrote her number on the pocket square. It's worth every $1.
Dude, I'm telling you, like these little things, like if you go the 1% extra, you'll be exponentially further than the crowd.
That's
like,
so true.
Little things. So folds, right? People are intimidated by them, but it's really quite easy. So the way I'm wearing it right now,
which by the way, for the listeners who can't see, the one that you have, please explain this series. You have a custom theme, right? So this is the explain.
I would love. So this one in particular, like we talked about hybrid, working with other people that we like. Maria Konstantinidis is a Greek American artist in New York City, and she has a shop called Akia Shop.
Okay.
And
how do you spell that?
AKIA.
IKEA.
Yes,
okay,
the Akia shop on Instagram. And this is like kind of her trademark little EVs pattern, right? So she has EVs here.
So cool.
And we collaborated and we did this pattern. And that's more things I want to keep doing. And just finding ways to work with good people. And it was really cool of her to do this. And I want to do a lot more of it. Yep. So yeah, that's where this one comes from.
That's amazing.
And also, when you're a startup, you got to know like who your audience is, right? So Greek American, just starting out, a lot of it's going to be word of mouth. So word of mouth, my network, a lot of it is Greek Americans. So you got to have your Greek patterns because you got to know your audience with any business.
You just gave me an idea before you jump into this. I have a show in March in New York City at the Hilton. It's a big lighting show, industry show. And we're going to have this conference room. We're going to put our display, and it would be a cool giveaway to have branded like light bulbs on them. And we gave them to all our clients that are coming in the door.
Ooh. So
you have anything lighting themed?
How would this work?
No way. Are you kidding me,
This is
dude?
not planned. Yeah, dude, Greeks don't show up empty-handed. You know the deal.
Are you? Okay, so I was just handed. Holy shit. Are you?
Yeah, man. I
No
got you,
way,
of course.
man.
Yeah.
All right, so where do we put this here? All right, so we got IDEOLI branded pocket square, which I'm telling you, I was going to ask you. Oh my
we got you,
God.
brother. Got you, brother.
Okay, so we're going to order a bunch of these and have them for the show. So I was going to say, everyone who's like on my team, there's going to be probably 5 or 6 males, right, with sport coats.
Okay.
That's it. Like
we got 2 of them. We got 2 of them already.
We're going to order, and then we're going to have more for the. That's amazing.
I appreciate that.
All right, so how do we? Let's get into this.
Yeah,
this is
let's
amazing.
do it, man. Of course.
So show me like a couple ways that someone should put this on.
100%. So the way I'm wearing it now is quite easy. Like the puffy look works so well. Just kind of go like this, put your hand underneath, and just do that. Almost make it like a little ghost. Just like, so I'll show you one more time.
Yes.
So just kind of have your hand out, right?
Yeah.
Have your hand out and put it on top.
Yeah.
And then just press down on the ends and make it into almost like, it looks like a little floating ghost, right? And I'll show you, right? May I?
Please.
Yeah, got that, bro.
Come on, man.
Bro, yeah.
You see that?
Yeah, that's nice and easy. I'll show you another one. I'll take this one.
That's amazing.
So that one is extremely popular, sharp, works with everything.
Right.
There's another one that looks just like, kind of just what I did, just a little bit different.
It's amazing.
Thanks, man. You just kind of take the center, find dead center, and you're just going to kind of press, right?
Yeah.
On the way up. And because there's memory metal inside, I can press on the edges and it will hold that shape.
Wait. This has memory metal right now?
Oh yeah. These all have metal in them. Yeah. They every single one of them has, it's throughout the entire surface. So it's not just the edges, it's throughout the entire inside of it. So when you put it in, right, you kind of have like this almost like messy, flowery kind of look.
Oh,
that's quite
awesome.
popular as well.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So those 2 are super popular and easy. And then the other 2, men, that are like classic, go-to, always work, always in style, always fashionable, is the straight edge look.
Yeah.
And like the triangle.
And the triangle. Okay.
Triangle is the best way to describe the triangle is almost like you're making a paper airplane, which I know well, because in 5th grade, instead of probably listening to some of my teachers, I was making paper airplanes. So I got pretty good at this.
Get out of here.
So yeah, you just do something like this, right? You're making, like almost like a house, I say. And you kind of go like this, bring it in, and then depending on how deep the pocket is, you adjust. And you have it looks just like,
and that's
like so.
Yes.
Yeah. Another thing with this too, we got kind of fortunate in this way. To straighten them out, an iron is best, of course, but you can just kind of, because of the metal, you can kind of just pull and tug on the ends. And for the most part, I would say for the majority of guys, they'll be like, oh, this is very acceptable in terms of just like getting out the creases for the most part. Obviously an iron is best, but you don't really need to, I should put it this way, you don't really need to like necessarily iron it because it comes out, but ironing it is best. Yeah,
so flat and clean.
And crisp. Yeah.
So let me ask you, first of all, thank you so much for that.
Oh yeah, awesome.
That is incredible. And we're going to use that for shows because we sport coat, jean, like we just simple, but to have that branded, we're going to get that. I always thought up until today, I've never had the product in my hand. I always thought when I heard online, the metal is around the frame and it's obvious. So even when I held this one with the flag, I'm like, oh, maybe not all of them have metal.
Yeah.
So this is in the actual fabric?
That's correct. Yeah. So it's in the center. So it's sandwiched in between.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it's essentially a sheet of copper?
Yes.
Wow.
Copper mesh.
Get out of here.
Yeah. You can't even see it.
That's incredible. So why copper? Like copper is expensive. Why copper, not another material?
So aside from the malleability and the lightweight of it, you can also bend it back forth. So when we were launching on Kickstarter, we did a Survey Monkey and we asked people, like, if a company was starting, what would you be skeptical about? And somebody wrote, I would be skeptical that if I folded it a few times, it would fall apart after a couple of folds. So what I did was I did the 1,000-fold test where I did back forth 1,000 times. Jeez. And I did this, kind of like I just showed you earlier, and I churned it all out and we go boom.
Is that why you're jacked? It was just from all this training. It's just
a lot of 1,000-fold tests.
Hey, so all this plank bullshit, push-ups, like just
this is a secret. This is a secret. Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, so that's what you have the patent on
yes.
the makeup of that. So then your goal is to, you don't want to sell this company, or at some point if it makes sense, but to bring on a strategic partner. If someone wrote a check tomorrow that made sense for you and they were silent, would you want a partner like that? Or would you want a strategic partner like a Damon from a Shark Tank because you get the exposure? Like what would a partnership look like if you did?
So I'm going to go in two directions with that, because you mentioned Damon John from Shark Tank. He actually went into ROTHMAN'S, which is a store that carries us in New York City, and completely on his own saw this t-shirt, tape recorded, go, this is a cool shirt. This is a cool brand, because we had a little insert of like what we do and why we're doing it.
No way.
And completely posted it on his own. So I was like, oh my God, like that's so crazy.
I didn't see any of that. So he posted that on his own.
Yeah.
So what was his, he just liked it?
He just loved it. Yeah. He's like, the shirt's really cool. I love what this company's doing, because the store Rothman said, hey, can you give like a little, almost like a blurb of what this campaign's all about? And he walked in, saw it, loved it, recorded it. I was like, wow. So how crazy is that?
That's an incredible press. So have you tried to follow up with him? And
yeah, I've tried to get to him is not easy, like through his people, but
sure.
It's okay. You know, if it's meant to be one day, it'll meant to be. But also I think a good strategic partner, if anyone knows Pitbull, please send him my way. Would love Mr. 305.
I don't know who, Mr. Worldwide? Is that
Pitbull? Yeah. Mr. Worldwide. Oh, would love to have him on. But like somebody like that would be, somebody that has the experience, somebody that has the network, somebody that can, with one phone call, can, and he could put it in one of his songs, like he can rhyme rare cut with something, right?
Absolutely. And he embodies the style. Like he's always dapper.
Correct.
He's always,
he would be on brand.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
So a partner like that would make a whole lot of sense. It wouldn't be just somebody like, hey, I have a lot of money. Like, that's great. Do you have money, but do you know the right people in the industry? Do you understand how to take this to the next level? Right. Have you had the experience before? So it's more about the experience than anything.
Yep.
That's more what I'm looking for.
That's incredible. So anybody could write a check. You need someone.
I need someone. I'm trying to bring this to a certain place.
Yeah. And you still want to be the driver of this company.
Yeah.
Right? Like you still need to maintain that.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Very, very cool stuff. So, you've talked about branching off. This isn't just a pocket square company, even though its premier out of the gate product is crushing it. You got your patent. It's in position. There's going to be spin-offs in this apparel umbrella that you're creating?
Totally. So this is our Trojan horse, and I love to give my Greek references, especially to a fellow Greek. I love, I want to certainly expand this into other areas in the apparel business for sure. But I just think what we stand for is bigger than just like one product. And we also have, for example, we've had many females say, hey, I love the campaign you did we did a shop local initiative, and we had shirts for that too. A breast cancer awareness initiative. And a lot of female friends were just like, I love this. I want to support it, but I don't wear pocket squares. Do you have anything for us? I'm like, yeah, we'll do something that everyone can wear. So let's make shirts. And I just felt like it was like the logical next step. And I think it can go a lot further than that. So part of me wants to keep taking this and perfect it and get it to where it can be, while simultaneously also launching campaign shirts, and just like bringing the brand to where I know it can go, methodically.
Yeah, absolutely. So like getting an NBA 1 in Adam Silver's pocket square.
I would love that.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
but the catch-22 is you can't even do that without their permission. Like it's a catch-22 on, can I do, that would be the ultimate. Can you imagine coaching staff on NBA teams?
Or NBA draft.
Or NBA draft.
Yeah, or NFL draft.
Yes.
And they're rocking one. And so I think twofold, and that's not a pocket square pun, but twofold, because you're more than twofold.
I'm more of a threefold guy, but anyway.
So I really believe that the future of this company will be pulled in two directions. Licensing deals is going to be a big one. So like I love Batman. Batman's cool. I would love to have a Batman pocket square, or New York Knicks or New York Mets. I would love to rock my teams. And as I said, it's a conversation piece.
Absolutely.
So to have that all of a sudden, and keep in mind when you go out to a social event, right? A lot of times people are looking for something to say to somebody and they don't know. Break the ice. It's the perfect icebreaker. But I think licensing would go such a long way. That's one, and also customization. So this is where this is where our focus is going to be. This is actually, as far as like a company goes, the first one we've done. We've done a wedding before. We've done a couple of weddings before.
With what, like their names or the date of the wedding type thing? Okay.
So my one friend, their family has like a family. It's not quite a crest, but it's like an animal. It's a bird. Yeah. So they have I didn't know people had family birds, but they love pelicans.
I was going to say, what is it? A shitty pigeon? Like what is it?
No, but we do have a New York City pigeon.
There you go.
Of course we do. No, it's a pelican. So we put a pelican. We put the wedding date underneath, and we did a repeat all over pattern. And he gifted that to his groomsmen.
That's a great gift.
Which is just like, yeah. So we did that. We can do things where it's customized to the groomsmen specifically with initials. This can go a lot of different directions.
It's a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
I even think, because I'm not a tie guy, right? Yeah, and ties are just constraining and whatever. Most guys are like bukamiso, right? But think of even people want to get their political message or social like imagine wearing a MAGA one, a Trump's face, or like again, I don't care what party you are, or like Greta Thunberg, and like people can go in so many different directions but how much does it become too gimmicky at some point?
So I just got chills because, all right, so they're in development right now, especially this is an election year. And we wanted to, I was like, all right, you got to stay current with what's happening, right? And you got to follow trends. So we're making, 2 different patterns. We're making one, that has the Democratic donkey on it and the other has the Republican elephant on it.
Perfect.
So, they're fun, patterns. And then if you're just like, hey, neither, we have the American flag one.
Yeah, or just get a white one, plain blank, just neutral.
Yeah, seriously. Right. So, but for politics and to go into that, like you said, some people really love wearing their politics on their sleeve or on their hearts, really, in this case. And we were like, we're going to do that. We're coming out with an astrology line. So some people are really big into that. I personally I'm not, but a lot of people love astrology. And I would say just about half our customer base are females.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're gifting.
Correct. Yeah. Which is,
if a female happens to be into astrology and her guy is just like, whatever sign he might be, he's an Aries, he's a this or whatever. Yeah. Well, now she can gift that and wear it. And we're also going to be doing ones with Greek gods as well.
Oh, that's a good one.
So like I said, just kind of leaning in and just finding like where are needs. That's half fun is decoding this whole thing.
We got to co-brand it with Paralipinidis Brothers show on Netflix, Blood of Zeus.
That would be amazing. Right?
Oh, so man. We'll get them to just approve Blood of Zeus and the God. Like that would be a cool series to get out there. So the way you have it on your website now, which just clean website, nice. Do you see going down the road and expanding and doing like, you could customize t-shirts and you upload your design? Yeah. Will people be able to do that at some point? And hey, I want to put my daughter's face on there or the faces and then and what would a turnaround time be for some that custom?
You nailed it. So with customization, there's a lot of challenges that, like we were talking about earlier outside, like new levels, new devils, right? So I will any new venture or any new project you take on, there will be a learning curve. There will be a learning process for all parties involved, especially me. So what you're going to see is, you want to minimize the number of people who are getting something that they didn't expect. Like, oh, I thought it would be large or this. So you're going to have some form that you fill out. Like, this is a preview of what it's going to look like. By clicking this box, you agree to go through with it. I think the turnaround time can be pretty quick. I mean, I made this the day before I knew I wanted to do it, but I made it the day before I got here. And I'm not even that ultra familiar with Adobe Illustrator. I was still able to piece it together. And it took me between creating it, printing it, and then pressing it, half hour,
dude,
40 minutes. And I don't even have a system down,
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. So you'll be able to do that. And then, the pixelation, the photo that's uploaded and all that, that would be such a cool feature on. People will pay whatever if they truly want to customize it, because it's that gift, right? You're not gonna. Is it $50? Is it $100? Is it $100? You're gonna pay it because it's that gift time. Yeah, and another thing too, personalization gifts. Somebody said this to me. They asked if I could. They were a big networker, very big networker, the type where they come up to you and immediately they're like, "Oh, nice to meet you." They don't really get to know you, and they're like, "Are you on LinkedIn?" And like, "Oh, what's your name again?" Who are you exactly? Breathe a little, man. Yeah.
I think sometimes
I know exactly. Yeah.
People that go into these networking events and they think it's a numbers game. It's really not. You're way better off having a few quality conversations than dozens of conversations that go nowhere. Yeah. But he did give me a good idea, and if you're a good listener, and I was training myself to be, you pick up on things. And he goes, "You know what I'd love?" Because he loves LinkedIn so much. He goes, "I'd love if I had a pocket square," because I told him what I did. And the pocket square had QR codes on it. So if somebody wanted to link up, they just take a picture of the pocket square and they could get all my information there. I'm like, I'm glad I spoke with you.
That's not a bad idea,
It's a good idea.
Dude. Yeah. This guy. And then you rejected him on LinkedIn. That would have been the ultimate.
That was it.
Hey, here's your QR code. Let's go.
Right.
That's actually a great
link to the website. Yeah.
Right. Wow. So you're going a bunch of different ways. So your personality, right? You're very personable, right? You've been on several podcasts, right? Yeah. You get your message out there. It's about being better at what you do. You, from what I see, it's you let yourself be vulnerable as well on, hey, what don't I know? What can I learn? Where can I go and listen to and better help? So just talk to me the next step while this business is building and you're going in different verticals and avenues. What are you doing to better yourself, which will in turn help your business? Oh,
for sure. So I'm a student of Tony Robbins. I'm a big fan of his. I went to one of his seminars when I was in college. My dad brought his office. I only agreed to go because I was going to miss a couple of days of school. That's the only reason I went, and it changed my entire life. So that opened my mind up at a younger age to being open to make changes, to being uncomfortable. And it's so important to find yourself in these situations where you are uncomfortable. So like we talked about earlier, you can snap on when you need to because you've had exposure. I love that.
Yes.
So I'm always doing either courses, or I'm a big reader. I just finished, Joe Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural, which talks about a lot of different, meditations that are really powerful. So things that I do to, improve myself are taking that time, making that time to do, I say for me, it's VMW, visualization, meditation, and Wim Hof breathing. Have you ever done Wim Hof breathing?
No.
It's pretty powerful.
Give us a little synopsis. What's the?
It's a great time. It's about 12 minutes, I'd say, on average, where you take 30 inhales as deep as you can and full exhale and without pause, in, out, 30 times. And on 30, you exhale, you hold your breath, and you would be shocked for how long you can hold your breath. If you had asked me, I would have said prior to doing this exercise, maybe 25 seconds. But you do 3 rounds of it.
Okay.
And there have been times, not always, but there's been times where I've crossed over past 4 minutes and I was fine. And I'm just going to
exhale and stopping there.
Mm-hmm. And then when you're done, you take another inhale and you hold it for 15 seconds and you're going to feel a certain way after. You're going to feel a lot better. You're going to feel peace, calm, and I don't know, you just feel more whole. Especially I really can describe it. That maybe sounds a little hippie, but like it's true. Like you do this breathing exercise, and afterwards you can't tell me that you don't feel better than when you started.
Really?
Every single time. So the VMW I do all the time, visualization, meditation, Wim Hof, those are so important because in order to change, the outside world, you have to change from within. And that's where all change happens, is from within. So these little things are not like, these are things that we all know, but it's things that we oftentimes don't do. Like Alanis Morissette goes, it's the good advice you just can't take.
Yep.
That's the advice. Like, do that. If you can make the time to do that, it's going to change your world.
Yeah. And it's finding the time. That's great. What does visualization look like for you? What are you visualizing? Success?
Health, success.
Yeah. Short-term tasks too. Even like, are you visualizing
health, success, significant other, my family, my startup, accolades I want to achieve, even shorter to what you just said. I'm going to LA and this is the kind of trip I want to have. And this is what I want to get out of it and things like that. And it's funny because I didn't do this stuff a year ago and I was always very hesitant and resistant to doing it.
Sure.
But if you keep reading books and everyone's dropping hints on these autobiographies of like, this changed my life. Okay, next book. This changed my life. Next book. And there's a common theme and you're not picking up on the cues.
Yes.
What do you do? Why are you reading to begin with?
Yeah. At least try it for you. It may not be for you, but at least open yourself. So a buddy of mine on Sunday was telling me about Limitless with Chris Hemsworth. Have you seen that series?
No.
Okay. I think it's on Disney, but it was on my flight to Vancouver yesterday.
So that's actually ironically my word of the year for 2024.
Limitless.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you got to watch it. Chris Hemsworth is like the epitome of just physically fit, whatever, all this stuff. But I think it's like a 6-part series. And every episode, he's pushing the limits on like cold plunging, swimming in the Arctic in Norway for 250 yards. And then the other one, it's like skyscraper walking across, fasting. It's just really cool seeing that. And again, to your point, everyone this past year is talking about cold plunging.
Yes.
Right? Okay, it's this and that. Try it. For me, I'm like, I don't know if it's placebo. I feel like I feel better.
Okay.
Fine. Fasting. For years, people have been talking about intermittent fasting. I'm like, it's a Hollywood rich thing. You just, everyone's talking about it now. You try, you're like, I don't know if I feel better. There's just so much coming in and out and all these fads, but I'm like, it's got to make sense. Like if you're doing your research and the studies are showing it, at least try it out.
You're not wrong. So somebody brought up the other day about like the Atkins diet. Like, I forgot that was even a thing. But guess what? You could still do the Atkins diet today, even though it's not trendy anymore.
Right.
If it works for you, it works for you. And someone else the other day as well was talking about like how they didn't think meditation was for them. And they go, well, you can just pray instead. I go, well, why not just do both? And I go, the difference is this: with prayer, you're typically speaking and asking for something. With meditation, you're typically listening and receiving. And that's the difference.
Okay.
So I think there's a place for doing both. And I pray every morning I wake up and every night I go to bed, I make sure I do a prayer.
So you're very faithful. Like you have a strong faith?
I do. Yeah,
okay.
I do. I don't go to church like that often, but I will say I like to walk into a church when no one's there and go on my own time and take in maybe 15, 20 minutes. And I get a lot of peace in doing that. Yeah. But I haven't been to I can't say I routinely go to Sunday sermon or.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah. Now with kids though, we make more of an effort to go. Right. To kind of instill again on what our parents did. Why do we do this? Like, don't ask questions, just do it. Like I don't know why we do it. And I'm 42. So I guess maybe not the best teacher for that, but whatever. I'm not trying to be something I'm not. We're going to get into our culture, but talk to me about LA. You're here in LA visiting. Yes. Right? So you're here for a week, 2 weeks? I'm here for a week and a half. Amazing. Yeah. So what's going on out here? So a lot of things. So I'll say... sorry, by the way, thank you for coming to Newport Beach and spending time. Thanks for bringing me here. This is amazing. Cool of you. Yeah. Please, I'm really so happy to be here, man. And having this conversation is awesome. Same, man. So I will tie in this trip to also being Greek. And this might sound like the Greekest thing ever of all time, but I can't help it. But it's really what brought me here. So
having gone in New York, we have a lot of galas, and meeting good people there, Greeks from all over the country. Two now friends I met at a gala, and we ended up like hitting it off. I'm like, oh, these guys are awesome. And they live here in LA. And they've been trying to recruit me out here for a while to come visit. And they finally did. And one of my friends, Christos, he goes, dude, I have a guest room. Like, you can just crash in my place. And I'm like, oh, that's really awesome. Now, he had to go back home, his hometown of Utah.
Okay.
Or Ogden, Utah. And
Greeks made it out to Utah.
Yeah,
Jeez,
yeah. Well,
right.
then they moved here. But
Then they moved here.
Yeah. But, so he hasn't even gotten back to LA yet. And we've only we stay in touch a lot.
Sure.
But we've only really hung out X amount of times. But that's the Greek community for you right there. Like, that's philotimo. That is just hey, make yourself at home. Santo Spiritu. Like, that's unreal. And it's just like the network that we're tapped into, it has potential to be a really, really beautiful thing. And then I have another friend here, Gus, who we went out one night and we hung out with a couple guys who were Greek, and we went to the bungalow in Santa Monica. Yeah. And it was crazy. We had this section and more Greek people kept coming, and a lot of them we didn't know.
Yeah, I saw. So you were like, hey, not a planned Greek night, like unofficially.
No. What happened was these girls heard somebody in the group, and they weren't even close to us, speaking Greek. And they're like, are you talking Greek? And they go, yeah. Like, come join us. Which I always say is so funny, because if somebody's 10 feet away from me and they're speaking English, like, I'm not necessarily making out what they're saying. I can't even hear. But if somebody's 30 feet away from me and they're speaking Greek, I somehow hear.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, just right? Absolutely.
Isn't that crazy?
It's so true.
So that really was my big thing to come out here, visit friends. And I also think, as much as I love New York, and this, between January and February, there just comes a point as a New Yorker where you're like, I just have to get the hell out of here for a short period for my sanity. The weather I was shoveling last week. You want to this is a treat.
No, but it causes depression. Like, that whole gray time depression, it's real, right?
Yeah.
Like, you need sun. Your body needs sun.
You need it.
Yeah. And it's like that culture. Why I always say this, the Brits in the UK.
Yep.
I used to live in Ireland, and the weather report was 4 days this year, we're going to have some sun. The rest of the year, it's just, well, how do you expect people not to be just annoyed and angry and want to do barf? It's a lot. So that is the benefit on this side.
Without a doubt.
So you're out here, you're expanding your network personally, which leads into business as well.
Yeah, for sure.
What are your thoughts? You've been to California before?
Yeah. I've been to Cali a few times.
Yeah. Do you like coming out here?
Love. I love it here. Honestly,
to move here, do you love it?
So that's the funny part, which I'll say is what I've noticed in LA, everyone's recruiting here. Everyone's like, you should move out here. You should move out here. When are you moving out here? I've been hearing that all the time. No one says that in New York. Everyone's like, I feel like we're getting rid of people.
Well, and then when you tell the New Yorker, I live in Cali. Oh, that's great. I'm like, nah, man, this is New York. This is awesome. You kidding me? It's always, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, man, New York's great. The weather's amazing here.
Yeah.
People are fantastic. It's just everyone is far away.
That I don't love. I asked my friend, I was in Venice Beach yesterday. So I have to get to downtown LA. And I'm like, oh, should I take the train? He's like, no. He's like, we don't. And then I was at Santa Monica Beach, going to Venice. And I stopped this one kid. He was skateboarding. I go, hey, man, real quick. I'm trying to go to Venice Beach. He's like, oh, it's that way. And he's like, yeah, you could take an Uber. I'm like, well, how far is it? He's like, oh, it's I don't know, a 25-minute walk. I go, oh, that sounds perfect.
That's great.
I'm going to walk. He goes, you're going to walk? I'm like, yeah, of course. He goes, oh, okay. And my buddy said, it's yeah, it's not really a walking culture here.
It's not a walking culture, even though you have the boardwalk and you go, right? It's not. And that was the hardest thing for me and my wife from the city moving here. It's you can't, I got to go get water or milk. It's just, you drive everywhere.
Yeah. The spread outness, listen, it's not the biggest problem in the world. The traffic stinks.
Yeah.
And the interconnectivity of New York City is just it's beautiful. You can get to anywhere in a really quick amount of time. I love that. Granted, it's not all rosy. There's obviously some downsides of New York, but, for me, even though I love it here, and I think it's funny, I have a very New York way about me, but I also have a very go with the flow aspect of my personality. And that part of me, I just feel like I'm really tapping into it here extra. And I'm just find myself being very chill, which is really nice. Like I'm really taking time to just pause and just observe things here. Or in New York, it's just like, all right, this guy is walking next to me. I'm going to like everything becomes like a competition. Like you're outpacing somebody next to you. I'm not doing that here, which is nice.
Why is Anthony doing push-ups in the middle of the intersection on Fifth Avenue to prove what? Like, dude, slow down. No, it is a bad, especially like, late 30s in New York a whole life. Yep. You come out here, it's beautiful. Yeah. Right? Orange County, it's physically beautiful. It's a different world.
Wasn't that the end of Mad Men? Did you ever watch that show?
I didn't finish.
Oh, I didn't finish it either. That's why it's one of the only shows I don't really watch that many shows, but I love the beginning and then I never got to the end. It just became too slow moving. But I think the ending was he ends up being this hustle bustle New York guy and
Madison Avenue.
He finds himself out here in California. So I can see how that happens.
Well, you see that and then you see a lot of like professional athletes move down here after their career's done. Because like sun, chill. I've been in it, it's fantastic. Let's talk culture.
Sure.
Okay. For the non-Greek listeners, they'll probably zone out now and be like, all right, enough of the Greek talk, but it's good to talk about our culture. So your grandparents were born in Greece? Parents born here?
That's correct.
Okay. So mom and dad. So where's your background is from an island called CHIOS?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
XIOS or CHIOS for the listeners.
Depending on how you're spelling it. Yep. Right? Exactly.
Both parents from there?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Oh, so you're like legit 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But for the listeners, 98% of the Greeks in the New York area are from Chios.
There's so many of us.
Right? And
everywhere.
then Nafaktos, I feel like.
Nafaktos as well. Yep.
Yeah. So it's
my brother-in-law from Nafaktos.
Oh, he's Nafaktos. Yeah, there you go. So, but that's New York, right? So let's talk a bit about the island. Last week we had the founder of Klios here.
Lovely.
Mastika. So I'm gonna pour you a little one too. We'll have.
I will not say no.
You will not say no.
That is fantastic.
You're probably over this. You shower with this stuff, right? In your culture.
Well, oddly enough, they do make shampoos, so you can shower. They do shower.
So tell us a bit about just the island, right, and what that means to you. I know you're passionate. You go back every summer.
Yeah. So one of my favorite parts about I guess it's the LA of islands where you have to drive everywhere.
That's a good
word. I will say that one of the things that I love most about Chios is that it's still preserved in its culture. So it's not a very touristy island. And I'm not even trying to talk smack, but like, for example, Mykonos and Santorini, thank you.
Cheers, my man.
Cheers. Cheers.
To you and to Rare Cut,
Yeah, thank you, brother. To you, everything you're doing here, man, is fantastic.
Appreciate you. See, I enjoy this. I don't know, in my old age.
I'm a fan.
I enjoy this.
I love it.
Where would you rate this on top of, because you're a true Chioti, do you know, like when you drink a mastika, do you know like quality?
So it's funny that you say that because I always say, all right, we're in LA and actually your kumbaro, Thanasi, brought me to a fantastic place for a breakfast burrito. We went to Koufax.
Okay.
And
never been.
It's so good. It's very good. But I think because I knew I was going to Koufax and it's an establishment and it's a spot here, I think in my mind, I was just like, yeah, this is amazing, even though it was. But if I was in New York and I got a breakfast burrito, I don't know that I'd be able to distinguish the difference.
Yes.
If you blind taste tested like a pizza or a bagel, like you'd know, like this is not a New York bagel. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Before that point though, Shake Shack versus In-N-Out.
Oh, hands down Shake Shack.
Thank you, man. Double cheers to that, dude. People hate me out here for that.
It's not even close.
And I even got my 8-year-old hooked on Shake Shack, not hooked like obesity problem, but In-N-Out's good, but it's to your point, when you're here, it is California.
Yeah. It's the thing to do.
It's the thing to do, but come on, man. Shake Shack.
I'm with you. So I think, I can tell you a good one, like with Mastika, I can tell you a good one from a not good one. And this is definitely a very good one. But there are certain things where, packaging and that's where packaging and marketing comes into play. Are you a whiskey drinker, bourbon guy at all?
No, I'm more a vodka guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for a birthday I had one year, my friends took me to a blind taste test of 6 different whiskeys. One of them is this bottle called Pappy Van Winkle, and it's small batch. You cannot get your hands on it, and if you do, you're going to pay several $1,000 for a bottle if you can get your hands on it.
Really? Kentucky-based?
Correct.
So technically, you have to be from Kentucky. It has to
be a bourbon. Yes.
Bourbon. Okay.
Yes.
So Pappy Van Winkle. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's like a bourbon drink. All bourbon or whiskey drinkers know of this.
They know.
So we go there, and the instructor goes, "Okay, guys, we're doing a blind taste test. Ask me why." Okay, why? Because if we told you this one is Pappy, you're going to be like, "Oh my God, the notes of vanilla, this, that. And oh, now I know why it's so expensive and so good." Let your taste buds determine for you, right? So we had 6 different ones and we all ranked them. I would say about 90% of the class had Pappy in the bottom half of their favorite whiskeys.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's where marketing and storytelling comes into play and is so important. And all of a sudden it tastes better.
Yes.
Right?
That's true. That's with everything in life.
Right.
Oh, you got to meet this girl or this guy. And man, like undersell things more and just, I'd rather be undersold something than oversold.
Well, they say hype kills, right?
Yeah, hype kills.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So then HEOS, because it's special, and I was even telling my clients who are Italian yesterday, we were talking about HEOS came up in conversation because I was craving masticha. I don't know why. Like I wanted, and the bar we were at, I'm like, you know what, let me just start light before I get shit-faced. But and they didn't have it. And that's fine that we started talking about it. But it blows my mind that HEOS is a small island in Greece, and there's only 24 villages that grow the skinos trees that produce the sap or the tears that produce this. They've tried to take this to other parts of the island, other parts of Greece, doesn't produce the tears.
The trees will grow, but not the mastic. Yeah. And not even, I don't know if you know this, the north half of HEOS can't even grow the trees.
Yeah, that's insane.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then this throughout time, HEOS has always been protected, even through everyone just ransacking Greece.
Correct.
To protect this because they knew the Egyptians and everyone wanted to protect this and keep it for them because of the help. That's pretty remarkable. Why is this not marketed? And this was a conversation I had with Effie from Clip. Why is that not better marketed around the world? Like, you know, the Champagne region, you know, the Cognac region, that's a big deal. But, you know, you have the Masticha shop and you see that, but I don't think people really understand how special it is.
Yeah, it's like liquid gold. And to your point, we were, as CHIOS, protected to some degrees. Obviously, there was like the HEOS massacre, so we weren't completely spared. But it was looked at as like, oh wow, this is a luxury. And to your point, as far as like marketing it goes, I think the issue is because there's so few that can be produced, you can't really mass produce it, but you can upcharge. You can do, but there's only so much you can grow. And with all the constant fires that Greece experiences, HEOS included, you lose a lot of crops. It happens all the time.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I hate that. But yeah, I think they could, if more people knew about it, it just takes the right person to do it, right? The right campaign.
Absolutely.
And can change everything. I'm forgetting his name. He's a Greek-American marathon runner. And he uses masticha, but the solidified version. He keeps it in like his little pouch, I suppose, because it activates the salivatory glands. So when he's on mile whatever, instead of having extreme dry mouth, he uses the masticha and keeps it almost like dip.
Oh, like the dip.
Yeah, and it helps him finish races, he says. Yeah.
He also said he keeps it next to the cocaine and the other. I call bullshit on that, right? Like, they're not drug testing that guy.
No, he's trying to be the guy that brings Mastika to the next level.
To the next level, and I just cut him down. Sorry, buddy. But it's special. So what's your culture, second generation? What did your parents do for a living?
Yeah, so my dad, prior to being in real estate, he had every job on the planet. We always laugh. We were like, you did this too? You did that? He did everything.
Yep.
And then worked in real estate and then opened up his own office. And him taking that chance obviously changed a whole lot of things. But yeah, he's in real estate, so sales, and obviously a huge influence and inspiration in my life. And going after school to my dad's office, we would do homework there. You don't realize that you're picking up on things. Like me and my sister would go there and we'd hear calls all day, every day from people on making, bringing in clients, seeing how people conducted themselves. So I think that just became like ingrained in my DNA. And just like, I didn't even know I was learning at the time, but that exposure, like, helped me kind of, I guess, get into the working world a lot easier because I had seen it. You know what I mean? I had been a part of it.
Absolutely.
So that was a huge, huge.
How was he as a communicator? So was he? Yeah, like how
he
was
still does it.
He still does it. So obviously he was like encouraging, positive. Like so through osmosis, you're picking up everything, right?
Yeah, and he's a good man too. So I'm very blessed to have a great influence in my life. Both my parents. I'm very blessed. I have quality human beings as parents. They're amazing. And
that's great to hear, man.
Right? My family's my everything, so I'm crazy about them. And they, if you don't have anything to hide and you just are who you are and you're a good person, then good things will happen to you because you have nothing. You have no like agenda. You know what I mean? So I've had that as an influence, which has been huge and life changing.
Amazing.
But that's really where I learned a lot of things from business, which I didn't even know I was learning at the time. And then all my other grandparents came in at different times. I had one papu that I never met. He passed away before my time, but he came in through Ellis Island on this one ship where I have that photo. It's framed. And every time I leave my house, I touch it, I do my cross, and I just remember, I take that like 5 seconds to be like, that 5 seconds, be like, don't forget why you're here. Like, don't lose track. So easy to lose sight and be like, New York City, the subway sucks and this sucks and blah, blah. It's very easy to get into that mindset, especially in New York.
Starving in a shitty village back in Greece.
Correct. Yeah.
Sucks,
and then be a mountain man. Like, I don't want that. But I remember like all the sacrifice that was made here. He worked at a fruit stand. It just busted his ass.
Yeah.
And I think, and you're a parent, like you want to make sure like you provide your kids with opportunities that you didn't have. And, my papu had nothing. My dad started with nothing and became like really something and came a long way. And like now the expectations are for me to take what I'm doing and raise the bar.
Do better. Yeah,
raise the bar. Right. So
that's a big deal, man. And especially like what they did, they left for a reason because their circumstances back home.
Right.
Nobody who had money was leaving any country, any immigrant. Right. They had to leave for a better life. But he came on a boat. That's a big deal. Man. So both my grandfathers passed before I was born. My one grandfather from Kalamata moved to Brooklyn, worked illegally construction sites, fell from a building, killed in Brooklyn.
Oh.
Right? So that just changed. Like, just life is funny. Family was supposed to come to New York and migrate, but after he passed away, they ended up going to Canada. Wow. It's just, life is just incredible, but every day you should appreciate, like, and again, it's not about Greek. You can be Chinese, Italian, whatever it is. You got to appreciate where your people came from and the struggles, and then respect. Like, you're talking about your heritage, but you're a proud New Yorker American. We live here. Right. This is giving us our life. You have to respect that and we can't get so blinded and like, this is my heritage.
Right.
Cool. This is also your country as well. It's like 100%. A lot of the times we're almost too passionate about back home that you see it and you're like,
you romanticize it, I think it is.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. You try to be both places.
But to your point, like what you just said, I think that I don't like when I hear anyone from, Greek culture included, but any culture when it's just like, I'm this and F this place. And like, dude, we're very, listen, there's no country on this planet that has it all figured out, but
nope.
Everything's a work in progress, right? But I'd say, change starts here.
Absolutely.
Change starts here. If we're going to talk in the 2024 terms, we're the influencers of the world, right? So if you want to make change, here's the place to do it. And, I don't lose sight of that, man. I don't lose sight of how blessed and lucky we are to be here.
How do you not succeed? Right. Like, how do you not succeed in this? Like, there's no better framework for you to go and there's taxes, there's this, there's that, but like the mechanism that's here, you have to succeed. Right. You're not fighting a government or there's always corruption, bad example, but the infrastructure to be an entrepreneur in the United States of America, you will not find a better system anywhere in the world.
No, we were a country built by entrepreneurs. So like, again, we talked about carrying on tradition and carrying the torch. Like, that's in our DNA. And also as Greek Americans, like, that's kind of the beauty about being both those things. Like, we're rebellious by nature, which kind of gets us into trouble sometimes.
Yes.
But think about it. Like, how was America formed? America was formed by rebels, right? Yeah. What are Greeks? Pretty rebellious as well, right? And
pushing
the fighters, and like, we keep fighting and pushing, and like, I think it's so important to know your roots and where you come from, and not to forget, like, we're sitting here today. Think about all the generations past, like back, for us to be in this room, having this conversation, talking business. Like, a lot had to happen for this moment to occur.
Oh yeah.
So like, I just don't lose sight of that.
Absolutely. And we got to keep it going. Just kind of, if there were a few people, just say 3 people, historically or today, that could wear your product, that you would be proud of, like, who would you want to wear your product?
Oh, damn. That was a really good question.
Right. And don't say Socrates, because they never wore suits.
Right.
Right?
Okay. Okay. Fantastic question.
And why? Just to say, like, why would you want that person?
Okay. Cool. I like that. One would be, let's go with Dean Martin from the Rack Pack.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Class? Why him?
I just think that time, and again, it might be romanticized, but I liked when, like, the guy, as at least it's how it's portrayed to us, they had gentlemen dressed like gentlemen, right? And I liked the attire of the day. People going out was an event, and it wasn't just like, I'm gonna throw on like sweatpants that are wrinkled. Like, you got dressed to go anywhere. People got dressed to go on flights.
Right.
Right. So
now with the pillow around their neck and all this, like, right, seriously? Right. For your 1 hour flight, asshole? Yeah.
Although I gotta say, I probably don't look best on my best self on flights either, in fairness. But like, going out meant something. Like, being meticulous and being like, people cared about their appearance and how they looked, because that's part of your overall package, right? That's what people are seeing. And whether we like it or not, people form an opinion of somebody when they see them. Within 2 seconds, they say. 2 seconds, you have, not that you know who they are, but you get a general sense of just like, oh, this is a stout gentleman. Like, people will kind of like paint a picture immediately, and then you could prove them right or wrong.
Yep.
But right away, they already have something in their head.
That's insane. Within a few seconds.
2 seconds. So I had read that in Entrepreneurial magazine when it was, is this still a magazine?
I don't know, man. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. So him, and I just think that, like, he's kind of like, and I think everyone would say Sinatra, but I think he was just like the king of, I think that was his nickname too. King of Cool.
King of Cool, yeah.
Cool dude.
He was, yeah.
Yeah. A little less flash than a Sinatra, who I respect the hell out of too, but just a cool dude.
Yeah, he had this charisma, right? Like,
yeah. So him.
Okay.
Second, I'm going to go with, let's go with the other AO. And I don't mean Anthony Orisses. Aristotle Onassis.
Oh, shoot.
Let's go with him, man. Let's go with him.
Dude, that's a good one.
Yeah.
You ever thought of that one before? That would be...
That's
a great one.
Aristotle Onassis would have been like really... That would have been great to... he married a Kennedy's wife. That's pretty crazy. And everything he did, hustled, not a good looking guy whatsoever, but was able.
Small guy, but carried that.
Yeah, had that presence.
Oh my God.
Had that presence, right?
So, and he's not talked about enough, or his legacy. There's the other side. I just read a book maybe a year ago that kind of talked about the other side of it, and the corruption and all this. That's fine. I'm sure everybody has a story.
Right.
But what he did at that time, against all odds, right? Going up against the U.S. government and then against the Saudis with the oil. The guy did some big things.
Yes.
Okay. So he was the ultimate class at that point.
Yeah. And the third, I'm going to say this because I'm manifesting it. PITBULL.
I like
I'm
that.
going back to it. I want PITBULL. If anyone's listening and you know him, please contact us. I think, very much so. I really think he embodies what we do and what we are. And like I said, he dresses the part. If I was to say Rare Cut was a personality, I would say it's more Ryan Reynolds, because we're tongue in cheek, we're funny, we're fashion, but like we like looking good, feeling good, but we also don't take ourselves over the top serious. You know, we're not that guy that walks into a room with like mutra or with like a bad attitude. No, we're fun loving. You know, we like to have a good time.
Dude, your tagline alone is fun, right? It's got that innuendo. It's got this, and it explains exactly what it does.
Yeah, our tagline is "It stays up." By the way,
it stays up. Yeah, there you go.
People are like, oh, did you know that? I go, yeah, that was done by design.
Basically, Anthony's saying the other ones have erectile dysfunction. This one doesn't,
but not this one.
Not this one. We're good.
Yeah, no, but so he's like hilarious. But in terms of just like somebody that rocks the jacket, that I can see it in every time he has an appearance, he's wearing a sports jacket.
Absolutely. And they're like perfectly tailored. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So
those are your three.
Yeah.
I like you, man. That was actually a good,
Thanks.
We're going to clip that. So what else? Just to close out next steps, where can people go? Socials will be shared, all that stuff.
Yes.
Rarecut.com.
Yes.
All the socials at Rarecut.
Yep.
Anything else regarding the business that we need to talk about?
Regarding the business,
do you have any like media, any stuff that you're working on from like TV? Are you going to try to get on Shark Tank with this? This is like the ultimate product.
Yeah. So with Shark Tank, I have watched enough of it to know that I don't want to go on there yet.
Yep. Because they will take apart everything. Yep.
Yeah. And also I want to get, what's that Kanye song? Wait till I get my money right. Well, wait till I get my numbers right.
Yes.
And when my numbers are right, then it'll be the right time. There's still things I need to work out. So I had to take 6 months off very, very reluctantly, but I did. And
what was driving that? Can you get into that or no?
Oh yeah, 100%. So what got into that was two things happened kind of simultaneously. The first is right before we were about to launch our Father's Day ads, which for us, Rarecut, like Father's Day is our Super Bowl, you know, because no one knows what to get dad.
That's right.
No one knows what to get dad. Get dad the gift that he wants is for it to stay up.
Yep.
So
exactly.
So I had,
and if you can't find the pink pill or the blue pill, you get this one.
We got this. So, you know, I had all this stuff lined up. I was working with my buddy who does my ads, and we had everything teed up, ready to go. And he calls me up. Like I had all these missed calls. I was just at the school, and I had all these missed calls. And I'm like, what's going on? It's like, dude, we have a major problem. He goes, your Facebook ad account got hacked. And some drop shipping company spent thousands of dollars, you know, promoting some bullshit, and you have all these fees and your account's locked. I'm like, how long is this going to take to fix? He didn't know either. He's like, hopefully only a few days. It took 5 months to get my account back.
To go through Facebook corporate and try to,
Correct.
No way.
It took 5 months. So that was one.
Isn't that scary how dependent we are though on a platform?
Very, very. That really opened my eyes to a lot of stuff.
Jeez.
That was one. And secondly, what was really bad as well, now I'm going to tie these two stories in together, is we were taking the Pocket Square, which I used to call them blanks, and someone told me, dude, everything you do has a fun nickname to it. Why are you calling them blanks? So now we call them nudes. So they were nude.
Yeah. Because blanks is like gun related, right? Don't they call them the blanks?
Blank just means it has no pattern on it.
Okay, so blanks.
But that's why I would always call them blanks. And he's like, no, make it more fun. So we call them nudes. So if it's out without a pattern on it, it's a nude.
I like it.
So we took the nudes and we pressed them. And what happened was, see how this printed out clean and white?
Yep.
The last ones that we had, the last batch, which I got thousands of, when I pressed them, this was all brown. And the reason it happened was the manufacturer that was working on this, they opted to use a cheaper adhesive, which I didn't give the green light on. And in turn we had products that didn't print out properly. So this all happened within like days of one another, days. So now I'm just like, I have all this momentum going. I feel like I'm kicking ass. People are starting to care, right? Or sales are like rising. Like this is our time right now. And then all this happened at once. And it was, there's no other way to say it, man. It was a kick in the nuts. It really
it's
hurt.
devastating, man.
It really hurt. Now, what I didn't know is sometimes you don't know that there is a blessing at the time of the event, but only when you look back do you realize that it was a blessing. You know what I mean?
Not during the storm. You're not seeing that. Yeah.
Never during the storm. So here's why that actually kind of worked out well, is because if I didn't get my Facebook ad account hacked, we would have got a lot of orders I could not fulfill. So every time somebody got an order, these would be brown and I would not send that out.
Jeez.
So I'd have to spend all this money on advertising, lots of money on advertising, then turn customers away, then have those customers be like, I'm not going back to that brand. They can't, they didn't come through. They didn't fulfill their end of the bargain. And I would have been even more devastated.
And that's your one shot, right? Like
Correct.
they're not coming. Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
So what I got from that was this. We used that time to find a new supplier, a new manufacturer that has quality control, right? The materials what they did. So I didn't know this, that when you have a roll of fabric, there's a correct side and there's an incorrect side.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I learned.
Okay.
What was happening a lot was the other manufacturer was using the incorrect side a lot of times. So it felt different. It printed different. This now new manufacturer I work with,
US based or overseas?
they're overseas.
Okay.
But everything is still printed in my garage in Astoria. Everything's still assembled. So it's still technically made in Astoria because everything is, they come as nudes.
But nudes with like copper cloth technology.
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha.
Correct.
Yep.
But everything is still printed here. Well, by here, I mean USA.
Yep.
So with that said, I was like, all right, I have a little time now to like, what could I have done differently in the meantime? And I'll be like, you know what? The one thing that I noticed is like, I wish they were a little bit bigger. Now, you don't want them to be too large because it'll have bulk.
Yeah.
But you don't want them to be too small because then not all pockets are made equal. Right. Some are bigger than others.
Yeah.
And a lot of old suits have gigantic pockets. And then people will put it in and it would fall. And they'd be like, oh, I thought it stays up. I go, well, it doesn't defy gravity because it doesn't float. But if it's tall enough where it stands, I bet any money on it, it's not moving at all.
Right.
But I didn't want to have to like get into that talk track. So I was like, why don't we just make it bigger? So in that time, we got better material, better fabric, better prices, and we made it 1.5 inches bigger. So bigger is better.
Bigger is better. So 1.5 inches. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So and honestly, now we have a better product. It prints better and we alleviate, like all those problems are gone. They're a thing of the past. But I wouldn't have discovered this without having gone through that period of pain, that transition period of just like, what the hell do we do now? Well, that's where we were able to take this to the next level.
So that's just a great insight into things. People think it's a pocket square. You cut some cloth,
right.
You throw, there's technology to pocket squares.
Right. Yeah. Oh,
patents
absolutely.
to support it. There's, And then were you manufacturing in the US when that nude? Yeah. And they're probably trying to save a few bucks, did whatever. Yeah, it happens to us all the time when we didn't have ownership in our factories overseas. Oh yeah, but we saved a quarter of a cent on a capacitor when there's 200 elements to this light fixture. Okay, you did that. We didn't approve it. And guess what? They're failing after 1,000 hours. Right? And then guess who's playing electricians across 50 loads? It's devastating, but you learn and then you know the questions to ask and everything.
It made me a better entrepreneur. It made me sharper. It was like, it was an expensive lesson to learn, but I learned it. And now when now you're not the same person, right? Because you know what you know now. And if I ever go through, whether it's this business or another business and I'm working with a certain manufacturer, I now have certain questions and criteria that I didn't have prior. You kind of go in a little bit blind and you hope for the best. And you're like, well, I hope you do great. Now I know the right questions to ask. And, I'm sure there's things I haven't thought of still to this day, but I'm going in there a lot sharper and they know that they're dealing with somebody that knows what he's talking about.
Yes.
And now because the person you're dealing with knows what they're talking about, you're not going to bullshit them or you're going to be like, oh, they're on top of it. They know their business.
Oh yeah.
And when you know your business, people are going to take you a lot more serious.
And what you know today is not what you're going to know next year or 5 years from now. And when you start going into other verticals in the space, so much more stuff that you have to learn.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's exciting. So this is rocking. Let me ask you, from 2016 till now, how many times did you seriously consider, hey, I gave it a go. This is just not, like how many times, or give me a time where because for sure you've thought of that. I'm not putting words in your mouth of like, oh, maybe this isn't going to work. I'm stressed. I'm in a personal bad space, or like what? Give me a time and why you were thinking of quitting.
Okay. I'm being straight up. The number of times I thought about quitting were 0. straight up. Number of times I was frustrated, I can't even give you a number.
Yeah.
It's infinity.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Daily.
Right. Yeah. But like, I know my outcome and I know my purpose, and call it being a Greek American. There's a certain, you could say relentlessness or stubbornness, whatever you want to call it. That both. Is probably both. Yep. That has propelled me in my life. Right? Like, if I'm like, okay, I'm going to make sure I get whatever that is, I'm going to make sure I get what that is. And like, I will bulldoze through to make sure that happens.
Yes.
Now on this route, there was a lot of detours, and they were very frustrating. And I'd probably say the time I was the most frustrated was the example I gave earlier, where it's Father's Day. I put all this time into content creation, teed everything up. I had my friends come over in the garage, and we're like, hey, we'll throw up something on Netflix. We'll put some music on, and can you help me fold these boxes ahead of time? Because, it takes a little time to put these boxes together, and they don't come like this.
They're all flat packed.
They're all flat with like these adhesives that you gotta like peel it off, and sometimes it like gets in your nail and it hurts, like, it stinks. And like, we're going through it, and we made a night out of it. I'm like, I'll order pizza, we'll have some beers, like just fun homegrown stuff. And
so that whole batch had pizza stains all over the.
But it's okay. It's funny that that workspace. I get so like, my friends are talking like, not too close to the material or whatever.
Right. So it's your babies, man.
Yeah, but that was so. Having had friends come over constantly, I canceled plans. I had dates that I said I have to cancel like weeks in advance, and like, who cancels weeks in advance unless you actually have something? I go, I'm going to be so busy because of my business. I just want to let you know now that I won't be able to make the time because I'm going to be so busy, right? Everything. I had a christening. I told them like, listen, I can't go because this is like our busy time. I just want to give you the heads up. Yeah. Like, no, we understand, no problem. And to clear my entire calendar for 5 weeks and then get your Facebook ad account hacked. You have products you cannot use that you spent thousands and thousands of dollars on, and just really the momentum, the wind being taken out of you. That was hands down the worst time.
The worst time that time. Yeah.
That was the worst time. There's been bad times, but that was the worst.
That was the worst.
Yeah.
Jeez, man. And that 5 months may have set you back 3 years, but you can't look at that. It's like, it was a setback. And
yeah. I often think about that too. It's like, all right, where would I be today if I had that time, the funds, all the sales? The goal was to sell out of all our inventory. And, but I really don't even, I'm expressing that to you now and having this conversation, but I'm just like, all right, where am I at now? Like, you pick yourself up and like, let's roll.
You roll.
That's what it is.
Let me ask you on inventory. The nudes is the basis of every single pattern?
Yes.
Okay, so you have your nudes, it's white.
Yes.
And then if something is like blue or a darker color base, that's on the printing.
Correct.
So that's got to help tremendously just on inventory.
100%. So if we make a pattern, right? Like, let's just say I don't want to talk ill of this coffee company. So we'll just say anything, right?
Sure.
We'll just say any brand, or any, let's just say it's a penguin.
Yep.
And we're like, oh, these penguin patterns, these are going to rock.
Yep.
We're going to crush it. You have to make at least 100. And that's even the minimum if we didn't do it this way. It's probably more like 200, 250.
Yep.
Let's just say they don't sell. We sold 10. Now I got 240 of these things I cannot move for anything. Like, shut your business down.
Yes.
Now, if we can make infinity patterns and we can be made to order, which is what we are.
So for example, if I want to order 10 of these that has my company's logo and I just want 10.
Yeah.
You have the nudes. That's the basis of your whole business, which is amazing.
Yes.
The technology's in here. Then you physically make the design file.
Yes.
You print it on whatever special papers needed.
Yes.
And then you print like that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Where you're not sitting there like, I think we could sell 100 IDEOli.
That would have been a disaster.
Yeah. You'd be
disaster.
Yeah. You'd just be sitting on
disaster.
stuff. Yeah.
That's the thing.
So you're made to order.
Yes.
So your designs are inspiration.
Correct.
But everything is made to order. That's pretty amazing. And then one of these to make from start to finish, we're talking minutes.
Minutes, yeah. For patterns like for the Greek flag that you're rocking right now, or the Evzonis that I have here, we go to a larger factory and we say, give me X amount of yards. So we roll it out. I have a station in my garage. I cut across. I have 2 squares. I put the nude in the middle, right? and I put the paper underneath and on top. We put it in a heat press transfer machine. We press it for about, like a minute or so. And now we have that pattern there.
On both sides you do that?
On both sides.
Yep.
No, it's a double-sided heat press, so I don't have to flip it for that reason. There's not many of those, so we have one. And that's a game changer.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have that method to produce, I don't know how far it could have gone.
Yes.
There's a lot of like dumb luck that happens with entrepreneurship. Like you have your plans, and then sometimes there's like serendipitous things that just work out beautifully. You're like, whoa, I don't have to carry excess inventory and guess which patterns are going to be, sell and not. That's a game changer.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
I wish my business was like that. We are a custom business, but ours is, I can't just go out back and like crank out 100 of these and make good. Ours is like a process. That's a great way. So, there was something we were talking about TV related. Can you share that, or is it too premature? Because I think that with your personality, right, your business acumen, and then what you're about to share with the audience, kind of a big deal to kind of get yourself out there further.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, so I just, at the time of this taping, I found out yesterday that there's a show on Amazon. It's called The BLOX, BLOX. And basically it's a show that takes entrepreneurs that have startups from around the country, and they put them in like this hub that's in Oklahoma, and you're there for a week straight. So it's like an intensive week, and you're there with other entrepreneurs, and there's a bunch of mentors. And what happens is they give you different challenges on a daily basis. Like, okay, now envision that you are a customer who's on the fence about purchasing your product. Be that customer and now overcome objections, and you're doing it in front of obviously cameras, but in front of everyone else as well. And I just think it's a really great opportunity to learn, to get myself, my brand out there, my personal brand out there. And just, I think I believe it could take the business to new heights. So I'm just really excited about the opportunity. I'm pretty stoked.
Huge congratulations.
Yeah,
that's a big deal. And it's Amazon Prime, right?
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime.
That's not Mickey Mouse. It's not a YouTube show. Nothing against YouTube or whatever, but it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. Yeah. And, I happened to speak to somebody that did casting. He was on the show. And what's pretty neat is that you can be a recurring member on the show. So you can do season whatever, I think they're about to do, I forget the number of season. I watched season 6. But you can be on season 6, for example. You could be on season 8. You could be on season 9. This guy, I believe that I spoke to, he couldn't give me too much information because they haven't aired yet, but he won something. So now he's doing casting and he's doing recruiting.
Amazing.
And he called me and he basically told me this show changed his life. So that's kind of all I needed to hear.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
it's a no-brainer.
Sign me up.
It's a no-brainer. Jeff Bezos, move over, dude. We're coming. We're coming. That's exciting.
Sign me up.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So, and in closing, you have your aspirations to launch your own podcast, right?
Yeah.
And create a platform and bring stuff, which I think you're going to do a tremendous job in that. So what's the basis going to be around that?
Thank you. And this is the truth. I'm not even just saying this because I'm sitting in this chair, sitting with you right now. I like the format that you have. I really do. I also, I want to make sure I have a spin on it. And it's not fully baked yet. This is more of like a kind of thing I've wanted to do for some time.
Yep.
And to be honest with you, had the business gone in the direction I wanted to last year, my plans were to launch this podcast / video podcast in late 2023. But I had to make sure I had a business. I had to make sure I'm not going to have Rare Cut Radio without Rare Cut. I wanted to make sure that was all taken care of. But I think it's going to revolve a lot around people who are just the movers and shakers of the world. People that are like a force for good. People that maybe tie into a campaign that we're doing. People that are cut from a different cloth, who are a rare breed. And that's where Rare Cut comes from. I like both those names. I liked rare breed. And I like the term cut from a different cloth.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Thank you. So that's how I came up with Rare Cut. But that's what I want to know what makes you a rare cut? Like what makes you different? That's what I want to dive into. But yeah, it's still in kind of the beginning stages of in my mind.
Yep.
I'll visualize it, which I'm doing. And really the goal is in the fall of this year to
Good.
start making these and just being here, seeing your setup, the way that you conduct yourself, the questions you ask, how it just like ties into you and your brand and where you've gone with it, where it's going is very like, it's just aspirational and influential to me to be here.
Thank you, man.
Real talk, man.
Appreciate that.
So,
Thank you.
like, just doing this, I'm like, yeah, this is a great setup, great idea. You're excellent at this. And, this did not feel like many podcasts where it feels like an interview.
Oh, dude,
like,
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you're the type of person, human guest, that it flows. Right. And then the only other thing I would say to that is, in person is so much different than doing it online.
Totally.
Right. Like there's a delay, or what did he say? And now I got it. It's just, I personally, for this, and again, this is, my job is running a international lighting company. That's what I do.
Right.
This is a fun aspect where you peel off a couple hours a week talking with cool people doing awesome things.
Yes.
I love that. But my number one rule is I will not do an online podcast.
That's a good rule.
Right. It's just, and again, it's not easy. I happen to travel a lot and you try to sync up, but if you can, try to do it in person, because you get so much better chemistry, and
it's a real rapport.
Yeah.
It's a real rapport. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's all I have, man. I think this has been a tremendous conversation.
This has been awesome.
You're amazing.
And what's crazy is, as you mentioned earlier, we knew each other from online, and right when like we saw each other, it was just like, "Oh, what's up?"
100%. I'm like, I knew this guy.
Yeah, it was like immediate connection, which is really awesome. That just shows you the power of staying in touch with people.
Absolutely.
One close to another. It was just like
absolutely
hit it off right away, man.
And you know what I loved about you? Just the last point I want to make is within the year. So we've been talking online, right?
Yes.
Sounding like we were dating and we swiped right on her. We were talking, right? Following each other and whatever, just good dude, whatever. And you sent a message once. You're like, "Hey, man, I just have advice that I heard from someone. I don't know how true this is, but on the videos, if you do X, Y, and Z, it should help with X, Y, and Z."
Yeah. And
you said it in such a cool, like, where a lot of people are like, "Man, who are you to like say?" But you said it in such a like, "I benefit nothing by saying this. This is what I heard. You let me know." And I'm like, he didn't have to do that. Your tone and how you present it was like, "Man, I'm open. Yeah, thank you. Anything else?"
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not an expert by any means in this or other things. So it's like, just the way you did that, I'm like, man, that's a cool guy.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. But it was that where I'm like, yeah, good people.
Dude, we all get further together. So yeah, we're happy to help. And thank you for having me on. This has been such a treat and really a highlight of my LA trip. So thank you for having me, bro.
Boom. He said that 10 times though, to 10 different people, the highlight of the trip. You're awesome, man.
Likewise, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Invigorate Your Business with George Stroumboulis. Please hit the subscribe and like buttons and follow me on all the main podcast streaming channels. Also, please share your comments when you can. I appreciate your help in expanding this network to a worldwide audience. Until next time, stay invigorated.